with you. Life sounds like this is what it sounds like. Life sounds
All right. Good morning, everybody, on a beautiful Tuesday morning here in Milwaukee. Guys, we have an action-packed day for you, and I'm super excited. I would tell you today's stars of the show are really going to be Kimmy and Steph, who have some very, very important compliance updates for you as it relates to both the new offer to purchase, some reminders around the opportunities within Command, and then Steph's actually going to walk us through training around the Sentri lock and how to protect your listing in the event of protecting an agent going into the listing who may not have a scheduled or an approved showing. So make sure that we're really paying attention to this stuff because really important stuff for you this morning. And then back half of the presentation, I'm super excited to share with you some insights. You know, one of the questions I get often is, okay, I get it, like the market's tight, but what's driving the market? Like what is going on? And so to understand what is going on in the market, you have to understand the demographics of what's driving the market, right? The demographics of the people, of buyers and sellers. So we're going to go into some information so you can understand the cause and effect aspect of the demographics. And then we're going to finish up with some things around leads, listings, and leverage, with some training and education stuff coming up. So I'm going to jump right into it, and we're turning it right over for Tech Tuesdays with Lindsay. So Lindsay, it's off to you.
All right, good morning, everybody. Today we're talking about direct mail campaigns in Command. So this is the first training I'm going to do where from start to finish, we're going to start it in designs, create that custom postcard template, and then we're going to move into campaigns to configure that direct mail piece. So configuring your targeting and whether or not you're going to target your database or target a radius search. So all of that can be done in Command. And so there's some really cool features with it. One of the main things that sets this apart is that there's no minimum, no order minimum. I know Michael Lewis Marketing Suite, there was, I believe it was either like 100 postcards or 500 even of a minimum order. And so this doesn't have that. You can literally order one postcard at a time. So Charlie, if you want to go to the next slide.
Hey, Lindsay.
We've got a couple other.
So give the group an insight, right? One of the things you talked about is when you design your postcard in Command and you're doing it for a campaign, talk about the radius feature, right? I think that's super cool that I think most people don't understand that they can do that.
Yeah, definitely. So if you look at the bottom right screenshot here, this is what it looks like when you're configuring that radius search. So, you know, if you have a listing that you want to send out like new listing postcards for, you're going to type in that property address, and the map is going to pull in those properties surrounding that property, depending on if you're sending to 50 addresses or 100 or 500. You can also narrow it down by either single property or multifamily properties. You can also search by bedroom, bathroom counts, square footage. And so all of that can be configured on that screen right there. The other really cool feature of this is that polygon tool where you can actually draw out that radius of where you want to target and send these postcards.
Yeah.
So you can get very specific. You can even remove addresses from here.
Yeah, and so you talk about sending just listed or just sold postcards. It's a great way to identify certain geographical farms without having to look up all the tax code keys or anything like that, and just simply draw it within, hey, I want to send it to the Cody Park neighborhood, or hey, I want to send this to the Mary Hill neighborhood out in Lake Country, and just boom, all right, 30 addresses, boom, go. 5 addresses, boom, go. 300, go. Right?
Exactly.
Cool.
Yep.
Sounds like express docs to me.
All right, so like I said, no minimum order on postcards. They're labeled, postmarked, and sent via a company called Real Mailers. And so again, that's all directly in Command. You're not going to the Real Mailers website. It's all configured within Command. And so like I mentioned, the radius search, but I want to get to pricing. So with 59 cents per card, it's super affordable. And so just a lot of really cool tools that you can utilize in Command. So be going through that whole entire process. And the other thing too with the designs is there's plenty of different templates in there. Again, if you have a new listing, if you want to promote it just sold, or if you just want to brand yourself, if you want to target your database and just promote your KW app, that's another option as well. So tech training's at noon today on Zoom.
Cool. Hey, let me ask anybody a question. What's the cost of a stamp today? Anybody know?
50 cents.
50 cents. And the mailer through campaign, your campaign's mailer through Command, it costs 59 cents whether you send 1 unit or 1,000 units. So effectively, your cost to make 1 card is 9 cents. Just consider the economies of scale for that on that for a second. Very, very economical way for you to send postcards via campaigns in Command. So check that out with Lindsay today for Tech Tuesdays. Anything else, Lindsay?
No, that's it.
Cool. All right, Kimmy, we're turning it over for you.
All right, good morning, everybody. So a few updates from Steph and I this morning. First, want to give everybody another reminder about compliance and Command. It is absolutely imperative that you submit your opportunities for compliance review within 7 days of acceptance. So even if your deal falls apart 3 days after acceptance, that has to be submitted through Command. So again, remember that deadline is, sorry, I just saw Andy's comment. That deadline is 7 days from acceptance or 7 days from that listing contract being executed. So get those opportunities submitted. The other important detail to remember is once you have an accepted opportunity or accepted offer on a property, to be sure to update those details in the opportunity details tab. So under details, you can see general information. This is where you're going to update that estimated close date. Very important to include that to ensure your transaction gets reviewed before closing. And then the other piece is the property address. So updating that, especially for a buyer opportunity where you probably don't have the property address in the opportunity name. So just a few key things to remember, and I'm going to continue reminding people of because it's very, very important.
Well, and guys, just as a reminder, the reason why we're asking for these things is it allows us to pay you as fast as possible. And when we're digging through, okay, we have last month 300 plus closings and we have a check written to Keller Williams, but we don't know who or what it's for. This helps us identify through our database and compliance review to make sure that you're getting paid as fast as possible. So we would appreciate your help in making sure these details are uploaded in your opportunities.
Awesome. All right. Big topic today is we're going to cover some of the updates in the newly released WB14 residential condo offer to purchase. Last week we covered some highlights of the new WB11 Take 2. Yesterday, Steph highlighted the Take 2 version of the WB11 in contract training. So be sure to catch that on the YouTube page if you missed that. And then next week, Monday at 1 o'clock, we'll be covering the WB14 condo offer to purchase. So the condo offer to purchase was significantly updated this month. Similar to the Take 2 version of the WB11, the optional use date was August 1st, so you can use this now. It's mandatory to use by September 1st. So you will now see both versions in zip form because you can use either or right now. But as of September 1st, you will no longer see the 2011 version of the condo offer to purchase. And then these will be updated in DocuSign rooms as well if you pull your forms from there. So first and foremost, the condo offer to purchase was revised to incorporate all those changes that we saw made in the WB11. So a rate on testing contingency has been added. The financing commitment contingency was updated, including the appraisal contingency where you have the right to cure separated from the contingency itself. They added default deadlines throughout the whole offer. That bump clause has been separated out from the closing a buyer's property contingency. The big update we saw in that revised WB11, all those FERPTA changes you'll see in the condo offer to purchase. And then you'll notice that this is now 13 pages. They added a really large additional provision section on one of the last pages. So you have plenty of room to add any additional language that you might need to include. So in addition to these just kind of general changes that, like I said, we saw in the WB11, they also made some more specific changes to condo specific items. So first being, they updated the condo disclosure materials section. So previously, this language stated, the seller agrees to provide to buyer within 10 days after acceptance, but no later than 15 days prior to closing. So there was two things that they wanted to update. One, instead of the seller providing, it now states that the seller delivers. So deliver, meaning whatever delivery section has been completed in that last page of the offer, that is how the documents will be delivered. So typically we're acknowledging that email is the form of delivery. And then they also removed the part about no later than 15 days prior to closing. This was creating some confusion. Some people thought it was like one or the other. So they simply stated that these documents are to be delivered to the buyer within 10 days after acceptance. It's important to note that 15 days prior to closing is technically still a part of, it's still a part of the state statute. So that's still there, it's just kind of hidden. They just removed it to eliminate confusion, but it is still required. So if you have a very short closing date for a condo, just be sure you're getting those condo docs over to the buyer as quickly as possible. You know, as listing agents of condos, of condo listings, just be sure you have all those documents before you even list the property so that you're not scrambling to get documents after acceptance and trying to meet a deadline. I see a question here. If you can't get the docs in 10 days, do you write an amendment extending that time frame? Theoretically, yes. But like I just said, if you're listing a condo, that's one of the things that you're preparing the seller for. So seller, you're going to be asked to provide all these documents. So let's get everything in order before we even go on the market. But otherwise, yes, you would want to amend the offer to purchase to state that seller has additional time. Because if not, then the buyer would have rescission rights. If docs are included in documents area of the listing, do you still deliver? So you want to ensure you have acknowledgement from the buyer, the buyer's agent, that the buyer is in receipt of those documents. I've seen that argue both ways. If you're like, the question is, if you upload the documents to the document section of MLS, does that constitute delivery? It's kind of black, it's not really black and white, it's kind of a gray area. So to ensure that the buyer is acknowledging receipt, you want to be sure you have gotten a notice from the buyer's agent acknowledging that they are in receipt of those documents. All right, next, this is probably the biggest thing that they did here. So in the 2011 version of the condo offer to purchase, you had this additional condo information section, but it was not written as a contingency. So it basically said, the buyer may wish to consider asking the seller for some of these additional documents. We had a contingency an optional contingency written in our clause library that you could insert into additional provisions, but not a lot of people, you'd forget about it or you missed it. So this section was commonly missed. So what they did now is they created this to be an optional contingency. So I would guess that most buyers are going to include this now as an additional contingency. It's just further protection for the buyers to ensure that they're receiving all of the possible information on the condo that they're purchasing. So again, this is an optional contingency for the seller to provide additional condo information to the buyer. Important to note lines 165 and 166. It states, because not all of the listed materials may exist or be available from the condo association, the seller may wish to verify availability prior to acceptance of the offer. So very important as a listing agent to go through these these items with your seller before listing to make sure that these are all readily available. Because if a seller accepts an offer and doesn't amend any of this, they're agreeing to provide all this information to the buyer. And so if the seller knows ahead of time, hey, I don't have a copy of this association certificate of insurance or inspection reports, whatever it may be, then the listing agent can either communicate to the buyer's agent, hey, these items need to be struck out from the additional condo information section to avoid having to counter the offer to purchase. And then vice versa, as a buyer's agent, you may want to be proactive and ask the listing agent, hey, are all these things going to be made available if I include this contingency? If not, if we know we're not going to get some of these items, okay, let's strike them ahead of time to avoid having our offer countered. Next thing they updated is buyer rescission rights. So there is a subsection of buyer rescission rights for both that additional condo information section or contingency, as well as the condo disclosure materials. They do basically state the same thing. They're just referring to different documents. So just to note that there are two separate buyer rescission rights subsections. The only thing they updated here is they added one additional point when a buyer can rescind the offer. So we all know buyer has 5 business days after receipt to review those documents, or they have 5 business days to review the documents, and they can rescind the offer within those 5 days after receipt. They can also rescind their offer following notice of any material changes in the required disclosure documents. So if seller becomes aware of material change to any of the documents, they need to deliver notice of that to the buyer, and then the buyer has rescission rights of those changes if they choose. And one of the last things they added here, they defined what a small condominium is. So small condominium has always been referenced throughout the condo offer to purchase. Now they've added the definition of what is a small condominium. It means no more than 12 units. And the other thing to note is that small condominiums are still subject to all the same provisions in the state statutes that regular condominiums have to follow, including the provisions for disclosure materials, unless there is unless that condo association has adopted certain provisions in their declaration for the small condominium. So if you're writing on a small condo, still expect to see all those disclosure materials unless it's stated otherwise in those in their declaration. And the last thing that they updated is the language in the special assessments. So this language was also updated in the last, when they updated in January, the WB11. And now they've updated it here just to kind of specify with condos. So they acknowledge that special assessments include those by any condo or additional association. And then the most important piece is that they defined what levied means. So special assessments levied are levied prior to the date of the offer are the responsibility of the seller. So levied means that the association has adopted a resolution imposing fees on the units. So we hear all the time that condo association or the boards meet and they talk about, well, maybe we'll do a special assessment down the road. Those conversations can be had, but it is not the responsibility of the seller unless it's levied, meaning that an adopted resolution imposing fees was done prior to the date of the offer written. So anything levied after the date of the offer is the responsibility of the buyer per the offer to purchase. So some buyer's agents will choose to rewrite this a bit. So in additional provisions, you can acknowledge that special assessments levied prior to the date of closing shall be the responsibility of the seller. What about long-term special assessments like 5 to 7 years? So again, if it's levied prior to the date of the offer, it's totally the responsibility of the seller, unless it's negotiated otherwise. So those are the major changes that were done to the WB14. I want to remind everybody of where they can find all this information through the WRA. So when you go to WRA.org, under the resources tab, you hover over transactional, and then you click on form update. So there's copies of the new offers to purchase with the highlighted changes. So you can reference exactly what was changed. And then there's also really short videos that really dive into what was changed and why. So those are really helpful if you want to just cover FERPTA again or cover the condo documents materials. You can click on a specific topic and they're really short 2-minute videos that talk about the update. So very helpful resources. That's how I got all of my information. So I encourage you to visit there if you have more, want to learn more, or join me next Monday at 1 o'clock for contract training.
Cool. Thanks, Kimmy. Appreciate your detail in going through all this stuff to give us a heads up, because there's definitely a few lines in there that change to the benefit or to the non-benefit of, depending on the side of the transaction you are. So guys, you want to make sure you pay attention to some of the specifics to that. And reach out to Kimmy or Steph with any sort of questions, as I'm sure that those will come up as this form goes into a use date of September 1st. Awesome. All right, Steph, I'm turning it over to you. And we did some research after we found out that we've had an instance or two where some agents had accessed listings that they didn't have a showing for, or that they entered the wrong house because the houses were side by side and they thought they were at the right listing and they were in the wrong listing. So Steph, what can we do to protect ourselves as it relates to the Sentri lock and protect more specifically our sellers?
All right, thank you, Charlie. So when we brought up that story a few weeks ago, we did give you guys a 3-point check system as the showing agent to check the picture in your showing time confirmation, to check the address, and to check the listing brokerage's sign to make sure that you are entering the right property. As a listing agent, if you want to protect your sellers against this happening to them, you can enable what's called the call before showing code. And this is set up from your Sentri Key phone app. And just a note about the call before showing title, there actually are no phone calls being made. This code will be received through the through the showing time confirmation. So next slide. There are 2 ways to set up the code. One way is a manual way that you can, as a listing agent, manually generate it for an agent and use on a completely case-by-case basis. The way that I want to go through with you guys is the automatic way, which will offer the most protection for your seller. Again, it's going to be sent through showing time when a showing agent receives their showing time confirmation. And this code is the same code that you can use on all of your listings. A note about this code. So we were given this code and assigned this code when we switched over to Sentri Lock. So if you were a seasoned agent, you were given this code as part of your paperwork. As a new agent, you are given the code when you are registered through Sentri Lock. I'm assuming that no one has these codes anymore. So the GMAR is sending us a complete list of all of our codes. So if you want to use this tool, you'll have to get it from Kimmy or I, unless you are super organized and still have that code. So again, if you don't have the code, you're going to come to Kimmy and I. So you are going to set this up through, again, your Sentri Key app in conjunction with the lockbox. So from your main menu in the Sentri Key app at the top left-hand corner is where the menu is. Second step, you'll choose My Lockboxes. From there, step 3, you will check the call before showing. Step 4, you will go to the lockbox and hit the enter button on the actual lockbox. Then you will be prompted to enter your PIN number. And then you're going to hit enable call before showing. So now the lockbox is protected, and any agent who wants to access the lockbox will have to enable that CBS code before they can show it. So next slide. The way where you're going to enter now the CBS code, and again, this is your unique code, on the showing time instructions is in the CBS code field. So that's just one extra step that you're going to need to do when you're setting up the showing time instructions. And then the way that it looks from the showing agent's perspective, so when a showing agent walks up to the house, uses the Sentri Lock lockbox, they will enter their PIN as normal, but then they will be prompted to give the CBS code before the lockbox will open. They will then need to refer to the showing time confirmation for that code. So if you, again, prefer to use this on your listings, I would highly suggest it. And again, it's really simple and there's no actual phone calls being made. I think that a lot of people might assume that they're going to have an extra work for each time a showing happens on one of their listings, and it's really, really simple. So.
Hey, Steph, this might be a somewhat of a dumb question, but for those of us that have iPhones and use our thumbprint for the code, is that CBS code linked to our thumbprint? And then we would just do the extra code, or our PIN is linked to our thumbprint, and then the CBS code would be additional.
I would assume so. You'll use your thumbprint and then still be prompted to enter that code into the, because you're hitting that code on the lockbox itself.
Okay.
So, but I will verify that for you. I did not go over that with the
Face
Sentri.
ID as well.
Yeah, it'll still be, when you enter the CBS code, it'll still be a manual entry because it'll be unique to that listing agent's listing.
Yeah.
Right. So you use your FaceTime or your thumb app to access opening your specific access to the thing, and then it will ask you for a manual entry of your CBS code based on the code that was provided by the listing agent.
Okay.
Yeah, I know there was a ton of questions and there was a lot of red flags as it relates to this topic a few weeks ago. So we wanted to make sure that we really dug in to help you understand how to mitigate any sort of risk for your sellers, and so that you knew that there is opportunity for you to making sure that people are entering the right listings at the right time when they're supposed to be. Jamie, we'll follow. The question is from Team Sentri Locks, is the CBS code we should use the Rainmakers code? I'm almost certain that is the answer, but we'll follow up to send you that answer we'll send all of this as it relates to the CBS code and how to set it up as a follow-up following today's team meeting, so that you guys have the step-by-step guide that you can do it next to you side by side. And we'll have a few of these Q&As answered for you in the follow-up. Cool.
Awesome.
Any other questions about CBS or it relates to the offer to purchase for Kimmy and Steph? No? Cool. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Both Kimmy and Steph, appreciate you guys digging into this. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to either one of them. I know it's not the sexiest of topics, but again, it's designed to help you mitigate your risk and be the best agent you can be as it relates to the contract side. We'll also look to effectively help you get your CBS codes as fast as possible. So I'll work with Kimmy and Steph on getting those out to you individually here within the next week. So any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Cool. All right, so moving on. So we are going to run into July. So July has finished. It is now August 11th. And what I can tell you is this: despite everything that's going on in the world, there are some people who have had massive, massive success in the month of July. And if you look ahead to future months, I know August is shaping up to be an incredible month for many, many people. And people have effectively learned how to manage this business at a high level while being able to move forward, whether that's learning new ways to lead generate, learning new ways to connect with your database and clients, or learning new ways to effectively list or show homes in a safe manner with everything that's going on right now in the world. So I want to celebrate a bunch of people, because here's what I can also tell you. In the month of July, as a total company across North Shore and Lake Country, we had the most amount of people who celebrated $1 million months in the month of July. So I want to give a shout out to a handful of people here in the month of July. Congrats to Kathy Shaw, Guy and George, Natasha Jambrick, Sarah Hansen, Katie Sayers, Stephanie Miller, who, by the way, celebrated a birthday yesterday and also celebrated a $1.4 million week. Congrats, Steph Miller. Will Stale on $1 million month in the month of July, and William Lauer, AKA the Overflowing Storehouse. Congrats on $1 million month in the month of July. Awesome, awesome stuff. And you can see here the rest of the group. You're really so what I would call your household names showing up here every month and continuing to have consistent success. Next, July Home Run Club. So we heard you, right? Many people, it's difficult for Mandy and I. How do we help celebrate those members who are on teams in the Home Run Club? Because so much of this stuff is pulled from MLS. And so we really dug deep to try and find and celebrate those team members. And we will continue to do this moving forward. Who took in the Home Run Club is 1 listing taken, 1 contract written, 1 contract closed. So team rainmakers and team admins, please continue to send us information so that we can help celebrate your teams, because we want to celebrate those individuals. But a couple people to shout out, and you're going to find an interesting story here. So Ann Kleber, right? Gail Ganley, Carla Florence. You talk about people who make a transition, and does a transition affect your business? These guys are effectively telling you no. All these guys have made moves in the last several months, had a July Home Run Club with 1 listing taken, 1 contract written, 1 contract closed. Congrats. Gail Ganley continuing to kill it. Jacqueline Stern, Jennifer Jones, John Lorenz coming in hot. And Katie Hoven on the Bradley and Company. A couple other people to celebrate. Patrick Young, PY, having a big July. Peter Gossman just continuing to stack success on stack and success and being consistent in his business. Robin McCormick, Steph Miller again. Tamika Jones Clay, who I call TJC, just continues to be consistent in her business. And Will Stale, congrats on Home Run Clubs in the month of July, as well as the rest of the group. Here's what I'd tell you. Again, Mandy and I were looking at this. This is the highest. We've had more people have a home run club and hit the home run club in the month of July than we've ever had in company history. So congrats to all you guys on your continued success through this entire thing. Next, moving on, Lake Country July individual awards. When you look at it, John Lorenz leading the pack in the month of July, closing 1.5 million, with Natasha Jambrick just nipping at his heels at 1.4, and Mike Schaefer continuing his tear since making a transition in the middle of COVID. Who would have thought, right? You just proven the haters wrong, Mike Schaefer. Continue killing it, baby. Up 6.5 million year to date in year to date volume. Nikki Kunick, who's not even in her first year of real estate, number 2, and Jen Thornton rounded out the top 3 at 3.3 million. And then you can see the year to date units there on the bottom for individual agents in Lake Country. And then moving over to team awards, Team Trimble just crushing it with 10 million, and Gallagher Lake Country right behind them at 8.2 million in the month of July. And then you can see the year-to-date volumes for the top 3 teams out in Lake Country at 26 million for Team Trimble, 20 million for Gallagher Lake Country. And Bark River Realty with Nicole and Katie Tesmer just keeps plugging along, doing really, really well at 6.2 million. And then you can see year-to-date units down below. Jumping over to North Shore in the month of July for individual volume, John Molitor continuing to take the top spot as he's done throughout the year at 3.6 million. The dude is just crushing it. Stacy Fleming having a great month. Sarah Oberbrunner just consistent as ever. Kathy Shaw, great to see you up there. Carla Florence, again, even in a transition, her business has never been hotter. Congrats, Carla. And then you can see Sarah Reardon and Dave Gesvain rounding out the top 10 for July individual agent volume in North Shore. And then you can see here on the teams in the month of July, Stelle Realty Group had a phenomenal month, maybe best ever at 14.9 million. JSG number 2 and Falk Reuben Gallagher number 3 for the month of July. And then as you can see, the rest of the group continues to, I would say, peck for position. Corey Double Bolt, after having, trying to figure out what was going on in Tosa in the spring for her business, came back just guns a-blazing in the month of July at 4 million. And then you can see Houseworks, Duvall, Nicollet Group, KCN, everybody just fighting for position in the remainder of the top 10 for July. Congrats everybody on a killer month. And then you can see here, year to date, individual agent for units, right? The market controls the volume, agents control their units. Units, right? Congrats again to this top 10 group. Julie Litkin having a great start to her year with 14 units so far. Julie Scott, again, in her first year in the business. Tony Spot continuing to do her thing. Congrats. And then here you see individual agent volume year to date. And then team units year to date, JSG continuing to lead the pack as they've done for the last several years across Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin. Congrats to everybody on JSG who continues to just plug away and build an unbelievable business that, quite frankly, everybody's chasing all the time. So congrats to the JSG group, 189 closings so far year to date. SRG at number 2, Falk Reuben Gallagher number 3, and then the you can see there spots 4 through 10. Everybody's fighting it out to figure, again, agents control their units. The market gives you volume. A unit is a unit is a unit. Focus on your units and the volume will come. And then you can see here how that correlates to the volume so far year to date for the teams. Again, top 3 clustering to continue to battle it out, while spots 4 through 10 are making moves to finish their position. So this is through July for the teams year to date. Congrats to everybody on incredible success. And I will remind you this, right? As we look ahead on our lead metrics, and we'll talk about some of the lead metrics of where this business is going next week, so stay tuned. But I can tell you this, for many of the top people in our company that I've had conversations with in the last month or two, many people are looking at August as one of their best months ever. And I would challenge you to think, what made August their best months ever? All of them correlated to the activities they did in June. So what you do today should show up roughly right now. We're seeing 30 to 60 days later. I continue to plug away, and we have some phenomenal opportunities for you to build on that success heading into the fall. Awesome, guys. Congrats. So market insights. Where are we looking and what is the market telling us so far? It's been a few weeks since we've looked at the week by week data, right? We've looked at some different things across price points. We've looked at things month over month and year over year. But I wanted to go back to the weekly insights because I think what we're starting to see is that the market's starting to settle into where it is. And what I mean by that is you'll see here in the next couple slides. So when we look at the market insights on weekly trends, here you can see the showing time information again. And you can see the reason I like looking at this is just to make sure that the business is continuing to trend where it has, right? We're not seeing any blips on the radar, and that continued buyer activity on listings in the state of Wisconsin still remains really, really strong. You can still see we've consistently been showing trends of 70% more showings this year, week over week, versus last year during the same weeks in 2019. And again, following the trends, it's following similar trends to last year. It just means more buyers are out in the market looking at homes. Again, the reason I look at this is to make sure that we're continuing sustained trends within the marketplace, and that we're not, once we start to see this dip is when you'll start to hear me start preparing you for that. So I want to continue to make sure that we're staying ahead of the trends. So up 70% late last couple weeks, really, really strong as it relates to showings. Here's where you start to see that the market's starting to settle into where it is for where it is for the foreseeable future. So this is units under contract. You can see, as we have talked about in the past, right, the V-shaped recovery to our industry. And now we're starting to see the industry kind of level off. We're starting to see roughly around 700 units are going under contract for the last 3 weeks. Really kind of bouncing back after 4th of July. And I'll be interested to see if this kind of trend continues to say, okay, we know that the market's settling in now at around 700 units going under contract a week. Good, we can start planning for that. We're not seeing this continued run up, and we're starting to see it label off. Do I want to see it label off? No, but that's just what the market's telling us. So we're preparing for the market of the moment, right? Here, sales absorption, and again, as a reminder, sales absorption is the percentage of inventory that goes under contract. So if you have 100 homes and last week 12 of them went under contract, that's what sales absorption is. It's an indication of demand in the marketplace. You can see here, very similar story to units under contract. We saw a steep increase over the last several months in the spring as we recovered from the stay-at-home order. And even in July, we're starting to see an uptick, but it's really kind of leveling off at around anywhere between 10.5% to 12%. But that's, if you consider this is far, in terms of an indication of demand, this is a far stronger indication than what we saw last spring. Historically, sales absorption rates are anywhere between 7 and 9%. So it shows you more homes are going under contract within the marketplace. Again, very, very strong indication of demand. And we'll continue to monitor as we move forward into August and really specifically September, October. Next up, very similar story here, new units on the marketplace. We saw the steep trend, again, V-shaped recovery happen into June. And then over the last, let's say June and July, last 2 months, you've really seen this stabilize as it relates to around 700 new units coming to the marketplace. Again, July was stronger than June as it relates to new units coming to the marketplace, but still down 19% over last year. But again, the good news here is, if you recall, we were averaging right around 690 to 700 units that went under contract. And over the last couple of weeks, we've seen 747, 731, 756 of new units coming to the marketplace. So again, new units, while it's not crazy outpacing units that are going under contract, it's a strong indication that the market of the moment that we're in right now is stabilizing and will continue to do so. And we'll make sure that we're monitoring this for you moving forward. Yes, Ross had a question. With the election coming up in a few months, great recommendation. Will we be able to see the impact it had on the market of 2016? I will write that down on my whiteboard, and I will add that for a future team meeting to give you the impacts that elections will have coming up in November. Great recommendation. Thank you. Awesome. So one of the things I talked about kind of in the opening dialogue was around, okay, all of this data is important for me, right? And as Dan from Uber last week talked about, the one thing that hit me over the head like a frying pan was, without facts, my opinion always wins, right? So if I look at this and I want to be the agent who is the economist of choice for my clients, so that they're always coming to me for the insights and they're always coming to me for my expertise and knowledge, and they're paying me for that, right? How do I tell the story as to, okay, this is the effect of what? This is the effect of what? What is the cause of all this data? So a week or two ago, I had the fortunate opportunity of hearing Mark Epley speak. And for many of you know Mark Epley, he lives in Whitefish Bay. He used to work at Marquette University, and now for the last year to 2 years, he has been the director of the James A. Grasskamp Center for Real Estate at the University of Wisconsin-Madison School of Business. Mind you, A, I'm an alum, and B, it's the #1 real estate school in the country. Mark is a phenomenal friend to KW, always providing me insight, always willing to give me some information of what's going on. And so I had an opportunity to connect with Mark, and I said, Mark, what the hell's going on, right? We know all the effects of the market, but what's the causes of the market? So he gave me some good talking points in terms of what the effects of what's going on right now to help us talk to our clients around why there's such a shortage of inventory and why there's a crazy demand right now. So let's just take a look. The market is demographics driven is what he stated to me. So get this, millennials are the largest generation ever in terms of population size. They are bigger than the baby boomers. They are marrying 5 to 6 years later than those in the 1980s and 1990s. They're having children later in life. And yet they also know millennials still want to own a home. They're just deferring that decision to later in life, okay? Millennials are the largest generation ever. Next, the peak first-time home buyer used to be in their 20s. If you think about it historically, the 20s were always the first-time home buyer. That has now today shifted into people's 30s, okay? So remember this, millennials are the largest generation ever, and the peak first-time home buyer cohort has now shifted from in their mid-20s to mid-30s, or well, I should say early 30s, right? So if you look at this, the peak millennial cohort reaches 30 in 2019 to 2022. Right? And what he told me is there are 4+ million in population each year that are turning 30 within the millennial generation from 2019, 4 million people, 2020, 4 million people, 2021, and 2022. So there's a 4-year period where there's about 12 million people across the US that are turning 30 and they're hitting the peak first-time home buyer market, right? These are prime buyers for continued demand for housing. In essence, his message here as it relates to the demographics is if you consider that 40% of the buyers within the marketplace over the last 2 years are first-time home buyers, the reason being is that millennials are now hitting peak stride into the market. So what is his message moving forward? He foresees demand to remain extremely, extremely strong in the single-family housing market through 2022 based on the millennial demographics, right? Next, here's what he also knows. Homeowners are migrating or moving at the lowest rates ever. They began tracking this data in 1947, and in 2019, only 5% of homeowners moved across the US. Historically, even going back to 1947, the government, since they began tracking this, they had seen about a 10% of people moved annually. That number in 2019 was cut in half. Right? So homeowners are migrating at their lowest rates ever. Here's the other thing, empty nesters, they're living longer due to advancement of modern science, right? And they're aging in place. So the problem with aging in place is they're not selling their homes, which is creating a significant shortage of supply, right? So if you consider all of these facts as it relates to demographics, the demographics, this is the cause into the effect of what we're seeing within the marketplace. Millennials are the largest generation ever. The peak millennial cohort is reaching 30 in the next 4 years. So the next 4 years, you have the largest generation hitting 30, which is where we're seeing the prime first-time home buyer market shifting to. They're getting married later in life, they're starting a family later in life, but yet they still value the single-family home as a way to build a family unit or to build wealth, right? The also cause of the related to shortage of inventory is because people are moving less, they're migrating at the lowest rates ever, and that they're aging in place and they're living longer. The problem in all of this is his statement to me was he doesn't actually see this improving anytime soon. And this is probably the reality of the market that we will be in, knowing that new homes aren't starting up at a pace to offset this inventory shortage. So this realistically will be the market that we will be in for the next several years. Awesome. Cool. So that's the demographics, right? That is the cause and effect of what is going on in the marketplace. I will make sure to send this out too so that you guys have this information as well. Awesome. All right, so now we're turning over to trainings and events. And I'm going to ask you a question. There are 3 principles of the millionaire real estate agent. Can anybody in the chat function name the 3 principles of the millionaire real estate agent? Shoot them out there. There's 3. Bueller. Leads, listings, and leverage. Not work. Leads, listings, and leverage. Thank you, Emily Fair. Leads, listings, and leverage. So as it relates to your training and education coming up, we kind of broke down some opportunities for you as it relates to leads, listings, and leverage. And I'm going to turn it over to Renee to talk a little bit about leverage and transaction management, because I recognize that there are many agents who have kids that may be working from home, or I should say educating at home. So Renee, jump on real quick. Tell us a little bit about transaction management for those of you who don't know about your service. Renee may be muted and she may not know it, but we'll jump forward. So we'll have Renee on next week to talk about the leverage aspect of how, if you're feeling overwhelmed with the paperwork, how to connect with Renee. Cool. Awesome. All right, Mandy, we're going to jump into a MegaCamp video for the group. 1 second, guys. Bear with me. Here we go.
All right, let's get going.
So Mandy, tell us a little bit about what we should expect at MegaCamp 2020 coming in September.
I mean, first of all, like, sorry, Nike, our marketing is amazing. Like, those videos pump me up so much. So MegaCamp is coming to us virtually. So the agenda has just been released. So we have some more details on what to expect day to day. So once Charlie pulls this up, you'll see that a week before MegaCamp starts, you're going to get access to the new platform. So you're going to fill out your profile and you can start making connections with other agents around the world and around the country, and start setting your daily agenda based on the event schedule. So this is a great opportunity to build your referral base. Then MegaCamp Eve, if you go to the next slide, there'll be a virtual welcome party to ring in MegaCamp 2020. There'll be lots of networking events, enjoy live programming, and get kind of excited for what's to come. They're going to do a virtual exhibit hall, so you can meet vendors and watch live demos through the virtual exhibit hall. Then on day 1, you're going to begin with a quintessential MegaCamp experience. So day 1 is always a day with Gary Keller. Join Gary for his vision speech, top agent panel to help you pivot through the shift, and fireside chats with special guests from the industry and also outside of the industry. And then day 2 is the inspiring keynote from our president, Josh Team. There's going to be 4 rounds of breakout sessions on this day. So filling out that profile is going to put you with people around the country who are in similar spots of production. So you can learn from people who are in similar spots in their business. And then you're going to choose from 5 learning tracks. So leads, listings, leverage, commercial, or luxury. And then on day 3, of course, we have Mo Anderson at the Cultural Summit. So a series of programming generated toward preparing you to take advantage of the golden opportunities awaiting at the end of 2020 and beyond. So more to come with breakouts, but that is coming at us September 15th through the 17th. So registration is now open.
Cool. And this is a sneak peek as to what the platform is going to look like for you at mega camps, right? So instead of just be sitting on a Zoom, we're trying to figure out where to go and what to do. You'll see there's networking opportunities. You'll find the agenda. There's breakout rooms. It's all designed to be the similar mega camp experience you've always had from the comforts of your home, right? Learn from those who are doing this business at a super high level across the country as it relates to why the top people continue to take market share in a market that's down, right? Highly, highly recommend mega camp. And here's the other thing. Maureen texted me last night, and here's what she's going to throw out to the group. Anybody, well, here in reminder, save the date, September 15th to the 17th, and you can register now. Here's the thing Maureen wants to throw out to the group. Anybody who registers for Mega Camp, she plans to personally host a Mega Camp mastermind at her home on Beaver Lake on Friday, September 18th. Come out to her home. She will have a catered meal for everybody. There will be drinks involved, share notes, mastermind with people across Milwaukee. But anybody who registers for Mega Camp that would like to participate in this mastermind, Maureen plans to host a special mastermind session on Friday, the day after Mega Camp concludes at her home on Beaver Lake. So stay tuned for those of you who registered to look out for a special invite for that. And there may also be a special guest who may fly into Milwaukee for this. So stay tuned as well. Lots of exciting stuff to try and drive engagement around Mega Camp. So stay tuned. All right, Mandy, training and education.
Training and education this week. So tomorrow at 10 a.m., really excited for this Prepare to Win, all about creating your listing packets and checklists. We have special guest Kathy Popovich from Team Trimble. We saw them leading the scoreboards there in Lake Country. They sold 68 listings in the last 2 years, and listings make up 62% of their overall business. So we're talking about leads, listings, and leverage. Make sure to come tomorrow at 10 a.m. to hear what Kathy has to say about preparing for your listing. And then one thing I wanted to note too, everyone in the launch program should have got a text from me last week. There was an error with the Zoom channel for the month of August. So make sure to check your email from Charlie that comes out today with the new hyperlink with the correctly embedded channel. It'll be the same that you were on last week. And also Facebook will have the new code as well. So if you need that, you can reach out to me too. And then just a reminder, everything is recorded. So if you need to go back and reference anything, or you have any just tech needs or anything like that, check here first. We're going to start adding a lot more descriptions to the bottom. I got that feedback. Thank you, Annie, to make it easier for you to find what you're looking for. So feel free to check out the KW Realty Facebook, YouTube page, and also subscribe so that you're updated when new videos get posted. And again, keep an eye out for Charlie's email. Everything that you need for the week is going to be included in this email. So again, we'll send out the new training calendar today, and just a great resource to flag and re-reference throughout your week. I think that's all I've got.
Cool. All right, guys, it's a beautiful Tuesday. I would say this. One last thing, just a quick little plug. John Lorenz, a phenomenal person, a great real estate agent out in the Lake Country office, is hosting his Protect the Package golf outing, where he raises hundreds of thousands of dollars for cancer this one-day event. If you are interested in looking for more, I'll be sure to send out the information, but also reminder, there's the Heckling on the Hill to go up and heckle all the golfers. There's a bunch of us playing in the event. John, anything more you want to touch on for Protect the Package?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. No, I appreciate the plug, Charlie. Yeah, he'll be getting that flyer out a little bit later on. We have a full sellout. We have 144 golfers, and the weather keeps changing, but it always does. Please come out, bring a donation, bring a tailgate party, essentially. I'm going to have live music at Heckling Hill from 1:30 to 3:30. but we need people there heckling the golfers from about 1:30 to 6:30. So if it's an all-day thing for you, great. If it's just a couple minutes to drop off a check and get in the ear of Charlie as he tries to putt, that would be outstanding. So thank you so much, everybody.
Cool. We appreciate all you do, John, for Protect the Package. And it's events like this where agents are really driving involvement in the community to give back to those that they serve. And it's a great way for us as a KWD community to support John's event. So if you're available, whether in person or if you are able to just even donate some of your hard-earned money, I know John would totally appreciate it, as we love supporting those in our community. Cool. Thanks, guys. I'll be sending out all this information as a follow-up to everybody. Guys, have a great week. Anything you need, please let us know. We are here to serve you and your businesses. Be great, guys. Thank you for jumping on. Lake Country, you can jump over to your meetup, and the North Shore crew, anybody who wants to stick on for new listings and buyer needs, I will set that up in about 2 seconds. Where am I going?